What's up, P-Dub?
You're not the first person to call me that, Robert. That's strange, but I'll start with you. This, what was the origin story of this show?
I'll just speak for myself. A great group of folks came together, and to me, so much of my life has been about on-the-job training. Whether I was working in a restaurant as a busboy or starting to take an interest in AI as life is imitating art was imitating life, and then Nadine kind of brought this whole idea of how we could frame it together and get the people. And then I think Will I Am is the great crossover between having being an icon in entertainment and then genuinely steeped in all of the advent of this just this transformative thing, AI.
Yeah. So Nadine, what was your side of things? This was a project that originated at YouTube, and then you got these guys involved.
So we, on the YouTube Originals team, we have a whole team dedicated to learning. Like learning is this extraordinary, YouTube is this extraordinary place where people come to learn. And so we think about what are the originals that can really inspire people to do that learning and recognize the incredible platform that we have. And so AI was this really, obviously, very relevant, super interesting field for us. And we were looking for the right show to bring that story to life. And of course, the perfect partners. And it's one of those really special shows where all those elements just kept coming together, and we kept adding, it's such a critical conversation to have. How is technology going to help our world get better and improve? And how do we demystify some of the things people don't understand about AI? And I think as the project started, Susan, like we just kept adding new voices. I feel like it was one of those things that, it was quite a wild ride. Like at various points, you're like, we got 132 scientists, like what? But it just started building and growing, and we're so proud of what it's become.
And Will, you've obviously been interested in this subject for a while. Tell us how you got involved and what was it about this that made you want to sign on?
First off, to sign on and work with YouTube and Robert Downey Jr. on a subject around AI that I'm passionate about. Been working in the field for about 6 years with the team that I built. Was a dream come true. One, it's surreal. I'm a fan of Robert Downey Jr. and the roles that he plays, of course, the main role of that's synonymous with AI, with Jarvis and Iron Man. But then like brainstorming on all things tomorrow, showing them the work that we're doing from my collaboration with Soul Machines. It came from a bunch of different angles. Soul Machine brought it up to me. My internal teams brought it up to me. It just was like one of those things that you don't want to pass up to be a part of.
Yeah, you mentioned Mark's team there at Soul Machines, and Nadine, you mentioned over 130 people involved. Can you guys talk about how you put this team together? Because this is an enormous number of people that have contributed to this. Maybe Susan, you can talk through that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to backtrack for 1 second, it started with a partnership that we had with Network Entertainment. We had been thinking independently at Team Downey about doing a tech-based show. As to what Robert was saying, there's a curiosity we have and sort of an incomplete education, and we kind of wanted to understand it more. And had worked with Network very briefly on, Robert did a voiceover for them for a Steve McQueen documentary.
Oh, that's right, for that talk.
Yeah. And they said, here's what we're thinking. And it was sort of neither our idea nor their idea. It was sort of how it came together. And then you two being the perfect home, because the angle was about learning. It was about taking this subject matter and democratizing it, putting it out for the layman. But the biggest challenge is, how do you make it entertaining? How do you make people even care? Because honestly, AI is a lot of computers and screens and data gathering and all that. So to speak to how we brought a team together, it was really trying to find that combination of sort of reaching out, figuring out interesting stories. Part of that was this research you have on teams, but also was us sending articles and sending interesting concepts. And we had general headings of arenas that we wanted to hit on, but honestly, that had nothing to do with how the final episodes ended up grouping.
No.
And in doing so, we also, a little later, and we had gotten a few experts who were sort of talking heads, but we realized, no, we needed to up that. We wanted a little bit more perspective. We wanted someone to explain it a little bit more. So as Nadine said, it was an evolving process. So we did end up with, over 130 scientists, over almost 100 days of shooting. It was like 2.5 years in the making on various things. And we kept trying to, again, it was important to move as quickly as we could so the science didn't become obsolete. But at the same time, it was really important that we got to stories with heart and entertainment and emotion. So we, stayed connected to it. It wasn't just learning that goes like over your head or you get bored, and you get great people like Will involved who has a real passion, but also is like, his passion is infectious. And that was really exciting. So it was just this incredibly, I hate using this word because it's overused, but it was an organic process where along the way, along this 2-year plus journey, it kept adding on. We didn't start with 130 names that we went after,
And shout out to Sean Foley and Jan Motzkin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you.
Our showrunner, our writer, these EPs, we really put them through their paces, as I tend to.
Well, we wanted it to be really good. Like, we wanted it to last beyond the tech, because that's going to hopefully evolve over time. So we wanted to make sure we had a show that kind of sat with you, even if we evolve beyond the science.
Can I just say something too? Because I know some folks just watched it. The humanity that occurred, because we all get little blemishes and stuff.
Oh my God!
Here's what Susan and I do. I'll have a big OPEC nation in the middle of my forehead that looks like a third eye. She'll go, can't tell, or she'll be, slightly hormonal, and she'll get one down here, and I'll be like, can't tell, looks great. And when you were doing your scan and all that stuff, and there was the first mock-up, it's so humanized that you're like, are you telling me you really had to scan? Like, you never get zipped. You really had to do that. You had to leave that in. And for some reason or other, once that happened, the whole episode was like warts and all, so to speak. And you let that happen. And I love you for that.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I just reading a question. There was like, is that the real Will I Am? Is that an avatar? Right now, you can tell the difference. So this is really me. Maybe give it 10 years from now, we won't be able to distinguish the two. So that's a good thing. That's a scary thing.
Yeah. As you say there, the joke is whether this is, we saw the slight differences there, as you said, so that you wouldn't fool your mother if your avatar turned up. But talk about that process when you went through that. I mean, we seemed like we were watching you see that for the first time and experience that, and talk through that process.
Like sitting in that chair, getting the dots on you and getting scanned, I knew that I was participating in some futuristic shit. But at the same time, I know that this is going to look very like dinosaur 5 years from now. The whole process of getting dots and sitting in a chair to scan you, get out of here. Guess what? I just unlocked my iPhone with my face, right? So, and the technology of facial recognition and machine learning and machine vision will get more and more sophisticated. So you're not going to have to do those dots right around the corner. Sit in that chair, getting the dots and capturing my face and my all those things that were hideous, and the hours of vocal training that you for the TTS for the machine and the ASR. It was hideous, and I knew I was doing some futuristic stuff, but it's about to be, outdated 5 years from now. And I kept on thinking of like, wow, imagine Charlie Chaplin in 1920 and his crew. Imagine like taking all of his theatrical artists that performed in theaters, like, yo, I got this thing for you. Check it out. It's called the camera. The first folks that were like, how am I supposed to act? Pretend like you're on stage. Imagine those first films.
Yeah.
When a crew and lighting it and getting it right, like imagine all of that research and development to tell stories with film. And at that point in time, sitting in that chair, I was like, wow, this is the beginning of a whole new way to tell stories. And we have yet to tell full stories with captured images like that. We have yet to do that, right? So these are just like the first picture. Like that first picture, like if you saw pictures from the 1800s, them motherfuckers sat there for a long ass time, right? And they're like, okay, don't move, here we go. Like, imagine how long it took to like take that picture, stop, and the freaking bulb will go boosh, and smoke will come out, and they still had to stay there and shit. It was like getting my face scanned. And now here we are with freaking phones. Take your picture, high definition, send it across the earth in less than a freaking millisecond. Just imagine what is right around the corner with telling stories with AI and VR and all the different disciplines. It's going to be pretty fantastic and concerning.
What I loved about the series is it really helped you see how technology could be used for advancement, like for positive movement. And, I hope everyone can watch, because they're all free on YouTube, episode 2, because episode 2 really makes that point for me that, it's about, it follows the journey of ALS and essentially, especially in a moment like today where we are all donating online and we're so engaged and active, it's sometimes hard to see the impact of the work we do. But in that Euphonia episode, you see like those donations for the Ice Bucket Challenge turned into Project Euphonia that actually enabled them to create this incredible technology.
Yep, that was
ALS. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't watch that episode without crying. So if anyone, you should check out that episode. It gets me every time. I'm like, I've only seen it a million times. I'm not going to this time.
And kind of like Will was saying, I think there's 32 stories in these episodes. There was 8 countries. So this literally was like with 100 days of production over more than a couple years. We were able to just get just a little top layer.
The starter kit.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That was the important thing. Because like Will said, we know that the technology is going to continue to advance. That's certainly the hope. So it's like, this is showing, well, here's what we can even do now. Imagine what we can do moving forward. You look at something like Robo Racer, you're like, well, why do I care about cars that can drive with, driverless cars in a racetrack? But if they can do something like that, which is incredibly difficult, imagine what just in terms of the learning for regular driverless cars that, could be done in the future. Or, again, you see other things that can be helpful, like the Notco story, which is in one of the episodes about where they are using AI to figure out how to do substitutes for meat dishes. And I mean, there's just things that will help, as Nadine said, to kind of transform our lives in positive ways if the applications are used and continually explored and manipulated and tried. So that was what we wanted to
Google,
sort of start.
Verily with in India for diabetic retinopathy.
Yeah.
I think we all know there's certain aspects of it, like for my own reasons, that's something very close to my heart, because I've seen how macular degeneration is just such a terrible thing. And you'd think, wow, medicine should be able to address this. Well, now with AI, there's always naysayers and doomsday folk, and we tend to fear what we don't understand. And there is so much yet to be understood. Like the series communicates. I think we have a sense of curiosity in it. We're not proponents. We're not naysayers. We are absorbing this incredible amount of new possibility.
Yeah.
Go back to that the idea of humanity. I think one of the moments that really showed that was with the 2 musicians and their prosthetic hands. It showed that this machine learning can help, and there's as you say there, there's the idea that the negative side of things, but that's a real moment, and that's what you're trying to show in this, right? It's that real personal moment for 2 people who've lost a limb.
100%. I mean, that was the challenge. We went out, we grabbed stories in arenas that we were interested in, but then really finding the humanity. I mean, we were trying to identify stories that were going to, clearly show what the possibilities are, but we're also going to, as storytellers, as filmmakers, reach inside our hearts. And I think that time when he suddenly saw that hand move for the first time, we were able to capture that. It was amazing. In the same way, we can stick on that because people just saw that one. But in the second episode with Tim Shaw, which we've mentioned, not to spoiler alert, but when his parents hear his voice and they haven't heard it like that in so long, and those are the stories that we were kind of trying to dig into and look at how it affects, across the world.
Yeah. But Tim, like you were saying, science is not an exact science. So what I loved about the episode you're talking about is that in real time, we are capturing what happens the first time an outside integer who could have use for this technology, but doesn't even know if they want to because they've gotten used to their new set of circumstances. Yeah. And when it worked the first time on each fingers, I got a chill because I realized we had captured lightning in a bottle, and also there was a certain amount of luck. And I think that's the weird thing. And I think sometimes when and look, Will A.M., as I call him, and I, we got together and had a lunch, and we felt simpatico, like,
unrelated to the series, even.
Unrelated, kindred spirits. And there's this thing too of like Susan says, your wonder of we don't know, but there's a fair amount of known unknowns that are predictive. And so we get to be the steering committee with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I really like about AI and where we are in the world and society, like it's 2020 right now. Like imagine what the world was like at 1620. In 1620, the telescope was just invented and people were like exploring the universe. And shortly after that, they realized that the Earth was not the center of things. Things didn't revolve around the Earth. The Earth revolved around the solar system. They didn't know that in the 1500s. And here we are with AI and machine learning. Maybe machine learning and AI will tell us that humanity is not in the center of life. So as we go out and look for life, and we're always looking for life from the perspective of how we see it. But intelligence doesn't necessarily have to be based on water. Just look at AI.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so it's exciting times, and there's a lot of unknowns. But what we do have is something in the past and tools, and how these tools get implemented into society, and the more we learn. I think there's going to be exponential learning right around the corner with these tools.
Yeah,
so
Will, touching on that, given you're so close to this, we're talking about things that are possible now. What are the things are you excited about in this area for the next 5-10 years?
Well, the next 5 years is going to be bumpy as fuck. So
here's our headline. Thank you, brother.
So with that, just educating people about the infinite possibilities. And so that kids in inner cities realize that this is their Calvary, right? Learning about machine learning, learning about AI, and getting involved in competing with these tools. That's the way to change your community forever. That's the way to change your life forever, is to create with these tools. Because the jobs of tomorrow are going to come from the unlikely candidate that embraced themselves and equipped themselves with these tools. Right? There's going to be jobs that you can't even think of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That are going to sprout up in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And to get to 10 years, it's going to be a bumpy road.
But also that AI is so in its infancy that it's like, get in the game. Like young people, we need ideas, and like it's not like it's this figured out science that's like, oh, AI, it's all like, it's so, and I feel like the series definitely uncovered that. Like it's kind of messy. Like you can do a lot, but a computer can't pick up a bottle without breaking it. Like, like it's not this fully figured out thing, which is so empowering for young people who are just getting into it. It's like we need the ideas, we need people with solutions. Like the world's got plenty of problems, and we could use some big ideas.
Yeah, it's gonna be able to pick up a bottle without breaking it in like 3 years.
Right.
It's like that.
Just to piggyback on that, to me, the best hope is, look, we got caught flat-footed with coronavirus. That's right. However, it was predictable that a pandemic would come. So I think the predictive AI is going to be the one that can offer the greatest societal change. And obviously there are now challenges and old issues rearing their heads again for examination over and over and over again. And none of these things are, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't fix this. It's because we've never really been able to get to a synergy and an amount of communication to be able to ward some of these things off where they begin.
Well, and I think for us too, it awoke in me because again, we didn't come in as experts. We came as people trying to figure this out and understand, and why people like Will, who again we knew before this, were so excited about it. Like he's obviously like super bright, creative guy. Why is this interesting to him? I mean, our knowledge was a bit more because of his adjacent to, all the stuff he had to sound like he knew he was talking about.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
But I think one of the things we came away is realizing the opportunity that technology, that AI offers to help solve some of these enormous problems that are so clear in our world. And that's whether you're talking about, health and accessibility for people, but just looking at issues of our planet that, regardless politically where you stand, there are undeniable facts about things going on. And there are a lot of solutions and a lot of really smart people and young upcoming people and institutions that, we got the opportunity to meet with during the course of making this, that should really be applying this, technology and all the different things it can do to try and, I don't want to say get ahead because we're already behind, but you can really make a difference in helping our planet through AI. That was helping people and helping them. What's that?
Picking up that point of where we are now, do you think the coronavirus has sped up where we will get to with AI, or do you think it slowed it down? I guess, Will, maybe you're the best person to ask that to.
As awesome as AI is, we haven't figured out a way to filter out misinformation. We haven't figured out a way to give people the real from, the fake. And so that's disturbing. Because we rely on this so much, and if AI has already arrived, then getting simple information like what's real and what's not, we should already have that, but we don't. So that's a snapshot to show you where we are with AI, and where we're going to be. So as far as COVID. Because there's so much misinformation, it has all of us perplexed on what's real, what's not, what's safe, what's not, what should I do, what shouldn't I do. So I'll just stay in the house because I don't know what the F to do.
Yeah,
I'm washing my hands. I got Purell everywhere, but at one point in time I couldn't find Purell anywhere. So there's so much misinformation and distrust. We trust the phone, we don't trust the platforms. We trust the technology, but we don't trust the business models. And if we don't trust the business models on communicating with our family, how can we trust the business models when it comes to, deciphering what vaccine is for me? Right. So these are all things that are just going to come smacking in our face. And then you have the recove, which is the second wave, not just on, hitting COVID-19, but just the mass job loss due to companies that have all made their numbers this year. Right. So if you're Amazon and no one's in your office, guess what your business folks are going to say? We don't need those offices anymore. I mean, there's mass layoffs that are coming right around the corner. Like, yeah, there's a lot of layoffs now, but there's going to be mass layoffs just because corporations made shit tons of money during COVID with no one in the office.
Yeah.
So we have to prepare for that, and I don't know if AI is going to fix that.
We have a question here from Shelley, and maybe I'll direct this to you, Robert, as an actor. Where do you see the future of AI in regard to the entertainment industry? Will was there referencing Charlie Chaplin. Are the humans taking your roles in the future?
Well, I mean, I look. The nice thing is, all of us are on the bleeding edge of this, not quite knowing what wave we're surfing and why. But and I would piggyback on something Will said, which is life and nature is so much more complicated and interesting than anything a bunch of ones and zeros could ever do to enhance it. So I still bring the power back to our collective spirit and this amazing, cosmos we're in. I mean, it's astounding. Folks that I got to come up with, like Jon Favreau, who strangely was getting ahead of this stuff and shooting with Unreal Engines and put out The Mandalorian and was able to actually, because of his personal preferences, he wanted to stay closer to home. He didn't want his relationship with his wife to suffer because he was always on location. He wanted to see his kids every night. He wanted to bring production back to Los Angeles. And so he just happened to be someone who was already doing things that had a secondary and tertiary benefit when the pandemic hit. So his productivity never really stopped because they were already doing things that were easy to tailor make into it. I think a lot of us are wondering. I think question marks are really important. But I also know that, like Will was saying, and like we're all kind of saying here today, is, storytelling. There's always, what is it? Educate. There's the 3 E's.
Entertain, educate, elevate.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So the 3 E's will never go out of style. And what I'm just so proud of, and looking back on this from when we'd all kind of signed on, and it was that merry group of happy elves trying to see if we could, put up a barn and people would come to the show.
Yes, if it's worth seeing.
There is something for us to be discussing today. The 5 of us are not irrelevant in the moment. And there are things for people to see and enjoy and hopefully have that triple E experience. So again, storytelling will never go out of style. I'm semi-retired anyway, so we'll say I got one foot out.
I think
Sorry, say that again.
An AI group, an AI music group that were out like rappers in real time. Like, for example, something happens in the world. It takes a person to then like get emotional, write about it, record it, send it off. So if you have like an AI VST and a system that was able to like configure music, because there's machine learning composition tools out there. But
yeah.
what hasn't happened is like ASR and TTS, text to speech, and the ability for a machine to speak, to be able to understand what's going on in the world, take these hot topics, create metaphors and rhymes,
wow.
and publish itself. Fuck out of here. How far is that from happening? And even if it was like very simple, guess what? That's how fucking whack rap is. A lot of rap is like not that sophisticated nowadays. It's not like, and it will happen with rap before it happens with singing, because you have to synthesize the machine to be able to have long legato notes and vibratos and keep the time and while they're singing. But for rapping, it's really not that hard to make a machine spit or rap and create cadences, you know. And that's something to think about. How far is that? Maybe that's 5 years from now, before you have like MCAIs.
Wow.
Little AI. There's gonna be a little AI. To be like, you know what I'm saying? That's just gonna be nuts.
What's going to be the breakthrough moment for the public? There's lots of these great examples, but there's going to be a moment, I imagine, where everyone is going to realize what this is. Where do you think we are with that? Maybe,
what was the question?
In terms of what do you think the breakthrough moment for AI is going to be? We're all using it; it's in the moment, but not necessarily everybody in the world knows about it. Do you think there's going to be a breakthrough point?
We use AI every day.
Yeah.
So when it comes to spell check, when it comes to like search, when it comes to like, you know, all the freaking filters on your face and the facial recognition and the little filters and the little emojis. Like a lot of this stuff that we use on the phone is some type of AI, machine learning. But as far as like that application that differentiates itself from the mundane and things that you take for granted that AI is behind, maybe the vehicle, the autonomous vehicle that drives itself. You get into it because what's not gonna, right, when you get into your Uber, you call your Uber, hop in it, and the driver just doesn't take you to the coordinates on your phone. Sometimes you're like, hold on, slow down. Pull up. The guy right there with the blue pants. Yeah, pull up right there. Hold on, wait. Okay, cool. Like, how do you do that? You're gonna have to do that same thing with an autonomous vehicle. Right. It's just not like punching your coordinates and it takes you there. For you to get out the car, you have to be safe. You have to be able to tell the car, hold on, wait, pull up, just move up a little further. Right here by this pole. So the car has to understand, be able to do these types of commands. And so, you know, one thing I was talking this, now I'm being conspiracist, like talking to my friends about like defund the police. I was like, wait, how about if defunding the police only gives the police more money to invest in drones? That's what we want? What the fuck? What? And what
new headline. I'm sorry, scratch the last one.
Where will they put the drones? Oh shit, they're gonna put the drones on the light poles so they can recharge themselves.
Before we let Will go too far off, as our time, because our time is kind of running
down.
Who
cares? He's on a roll.
I understand, but what I will
Sorry about that.
Back is, it's a good question, but just to kind of bring it back to the show, one of the points of the show is to show people how much it is in our lives, and all the different applications and all the different possibilities. So whether it is the car is the aha moment for people, if they watch this series, they watched all 8, they're going to see all these different little uses of it, and it is going to demystify it. It doesn't have to be a sentient being. It doesn't have to be a car to understand how much it is in our life, and that was the point of it.
Yeah. I'm going to from the last question here from Lauren McKean, and maybe this is for you, Nadine, and Susan. Can we expect more? Is there a second season? Have you got more to tell?
Well, if we win an award, I've got a really
subtle.
I require accolades to continue.
Let's just say there's a lot more to explore for sure, because it is evolving. We brought some really amazing stories to these 8 episodes, but there is so much more to tap into.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Great. Well, look, on that note, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for talking about the show. Everyone enjoyed it back at home. We have Robert, Susan, Nadine, and Will. Thank you very much.
Thanks, P-Dub.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.